obviously you're going tier 5. Now this is something I wanted to talk about for a little bit that we haven't had a chance to look over. So, a lot of people think that you can't play as a wolf druid, especially if you're just playing as a pure wolf, like our pure druid. And they think that you have to multi-class barbarian or you have to multi-class fighter. And I want to let you guys know that that is complete bunk, and you can definitely, absolutely play as a wolf druid without requiring any of that other stuff. However, I do agree that the tier 5 of Nature's Warrior, and in fact Nature's Warrior in general, is quite a lackluster tree. It's like pretty cool, but there's some things that could really use some work in this tree. So I'll give you a quick example. Right here you have Brother Wolf. So while your wolf pet is alive, you get +3 to hit and damage, as well as buffing your wolf or something. This is kind of a cool effect, except if you're playing on any reasonable amount of difficulty, Reaper 1 or otherwise, this wolf just dies. It's dead. And the dead wolf doesn't count, so you actually don't get the +3 to hit and damage. That's kind of a problem. Because this is a really cool effect, but it just never works, because your wolf is always dead. So that's kind of bad. Another problem with this tree is right here, in Great White Wolf. It does give you 30% cold absorption in Winter Wolf form, which is reasonably cool, but you don't really need cold absorption for anything. You need fire absorption for Too Hot to Handle, you need alignment absorption for Too Hot to Handle, and you need lightning absorption for Project Nemesis. And then other than that, I guess you could get cold absorption if you're tanking Baba, but even then, Baba is not going to kill you with that. She's going to hit you with the Cyclonic Blast, that's what's going to kill you. You're very unlikely to die to cold damage. So while it's cool, get it cool because it's cold, haha, it's not really very good. And this problem gets even more layered up here in the top tier Nature's Warrior. Swift Hunter is now something you pretty much have to take no matter what type of wolf you're playing, because you get extra attack speed. If you're playing as a Winter Wolf, you get an extra 10% attack speed. So you're always going to want to take Swift Hunter. And it's reasonably difficult to get a good heavy armor that you can wear as a Druid to do damage. So this makes sense. Swift Hunter is just good. But then you have some other stuff. Throat Rip. So this one's really weird, and if you've never played as a Wolf Druid, you might not have seen this attack. But what it says is, you make a melee attack that strikes 3 times. It adds 6 sneak attack dice on each attack. That just sounds pretty good. And on each hit, each hit on a living target inflicts a bleed that causes d6 damage every 3 seconds for 18 seconds, and the bleed stacks up to 10 times. And then they have to make a fortitude save or be silenced. Now, here is... There's so many weird things with this description. Stuff like the DC is color-coded, the target must also make a fortitude save or will be silenced. So that should be, or it will be silenced for 15 seconds. And then bosses are immune to silence, but take a 25-point spell power debuff. The point spell power is just confusing because you're like, if you're like me and you read it quickly, you think it says spell points, and that doesn't make sense because monsters don't have spell points. And then to make this ability even worse, it doesn't attack 3 times. It only attacks twice. And the d6 damage that is on hit is completely worthless. So even though this is a 1-pointer attack, it's valueless. Never take Throat Rip. It's always bad, which is sad. Then you have something like Jaws of Ice. After using Jaws of Winter, gain 10 times your character level and temporary hit points for 30 seconds. This one's actually really good. Even if you multi-class as a Druid, you still get 300 health or temporary hit points. And you're going to be using Jaws of Winter fairly often. That's the attack that freezes monsters when you bite into them. So it's pretty good. It does a bunch of damage, so you're using it even just for damage. It is a freeze if you're sneak attacking. It's a really good attack. You want to take Jaws of Ice. But now we come to the 2 end bits. Go for the Kill and Alpha Strike. So Alpha Strike here is an interesting attack that does +5W in an AoE, and on targets above 85% health, it reduces their attack, range, and spell power by 25. So attack power, ranged attack power. Man, that's so weird. I forgot what do you even call that? Yeah, ranged power. But like, why is it attack ranged attack power? Ranged power? That's so weird. It's worded really weird. But anyway. Or maybe it's actually reducing their attack. Maybe it's saying it actually reduces their hit chance by 25. Anyway, the point is, on a Wolf Druid, you don't really need any AoE, because Alpha Strike has a reasonably long animation that kind of kicks you out of what you're doing. On top of that, when you consider Alpha Strike with some of the other Wolf attacks, Alpha Strike really pales in comparison to some of the good ones. To give you a super easy example, let's go to Baiting Bite, which is awesome. Baiting Bite, it's 4W, it's +1 bonus threat range, and +1 bonus multiplier. That's huge, so it makes your weapon an extra +1 multi. This attack doesn't do that, and you have to spend a bunch of points to make it work. Plus, it costs more spell points, and it has a 12-second cooldown, which isn't great. The biggest flaw with this is that you also have to take Fatal Harrier first. So you have to grab Fatal Harrier, and then you have to grab this. Well, Fatal Harrier is an attack, or not an attack, but it's a passive that makes it that you get extra attack speed while after you get a kill on a monster, which sounds pretty good, and it's also very good for leveling. However, this attack speed doesn't actually stack with attack speed bonuses you get from other items, which is a problem. So you get the Wolf combat style bonus to attack speed, which is pretty good up here, but what you don't get is, let's just say you have haste. This doesn't work with haste. So haste is 15%, so you can only get an extra 10% attack speed, which is kind of cool, except another major problem is that your character, unfortunately, isn't always going to be getting all the kills. When you're playing in a group, you might have a sorcerer or another character who's doing more kills than you, and you're only getting enough to maybe get 1 or 2 stacks, at which point this is totally worthless. Also, Nico, sorry to hear about the car. Hopefully everything is good on your end. That sounds crappy with the rear ending. So now you have an ability here that is only situationally useful. It's great when soloing, but the soloing is only an extra 10% attack speed. And in a group, usually you're not going to be able to get all of the kills because they're going to be spread out among you and the other people. If you have 6 people in a party and everyone is doing damage, it is not likely for you to get all of the kills, even though druids move very fast. So that kind of limits you. So you don't want to take this. And if you don't want to take this, you're going to spend 3 points here to get 3 points here. That's 6 extra points, and that's really not very good. So Alpha Strike not good, and Throat Rip not good, leaves you only with Swift Hunter, which you have to take basically, and then Jaws of Ice. The only saving grace here is Go for the Kill, which is one of the most satisfying abilities in DDO. If you haven't had the opportunity to screw around with Go for the Kill, it is absolutely awesome. So it's a charge where you literally charge to a target and you hit them. It's a knockdown, which is awesome, but it's a +4W, it's got +5 critical threat range and +1 multi. So you basically always crit with this attack, or like 50% of the time you're going to be landing a critical strike, and you give yourself melee power. However, if you charge from a big range, you also get double the melee power. So if you're doing a fight where you're moving all around a room or something, or you're going through quests, you're constantly bouncing, go for the kill, go for the kill, go for the kill, and you're getting this extra 30 melee power all the time. It's really fun and it feels great. And it scales off all your trip DCs, it scales off your strength or your wisdom. It's just awesome. Go for the Kill is one of those super iconic abilities that I feel like every class should have. And some classes, I feel like their tier 5s don't really exemplify this. An example would be like Season's Herald. Season's Herald doesn't really have anything crazy in the tier 5 that you're like, yes, this is Druid. Yeah, you get Word of Balance spell-like ability, which is good, it's powerful. It's not like, you're not like, Druid. But Go for the Kill, you're like, you're jumping onto people, you're like a wolf pouncing onto guys. It's awesome. So this is great. But then there's another problem to pure wolf druid, and that's the capstone. Beast Form Mastery. So what this says is, blah 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 spell cooldowns, and then blah 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 2 strength, 2 wisdom, 10 double strike, and 10 physical resistance rating. Now the reason why I said the blah 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 is because honestly, the spell cooldowns really don't matter that much. If you're playing as a melee druid, you're not really casting a lot of spells. You're only really using your spells when you got to heal or do something in the background. And the only spell you're actually casting in combat anyway is Regenerate Mass. Regenerate Mass is a very fast casting spell, and the cooldown is going to be, if you're at least this far into the tree, which is to say you have, Nature's Bounty right here, the cooldown on Regenerate Mass is going to be shorter than the actual effect of Regenerate Mass, which means that Regenerate Mass will still be going on, and then by the time it runs out, you're like, cool, I'm just going to cast another one. So you don't need the cooldown reduction here. It has no real impact on your character. But then, 2 Strength. Not bad. 2 Wisdom. Probably not good. You don't really need that. 10 Double Strike. Now, 10 Double Strike sounds great. Except, there's a Double Strike action boost for 30, and you get 12 Double Strike from your passive or your feat, your nature's or natural fighting, which you pretty much need to take in all cases. So now you've got a whole bunch of extra Double Strike that you probably don't need. And if you've played DDO as a melee, you'd know capping Double Strike is incredibly easy. So you're likely not needing the double strike on this, and then you get 10 physical resistance rating. So to sum up what this is giving you, is once you actually have your items and your gear situated, it's 2 strength and 10 physical resistance rating. Is that worth it to take this versus another class? Probably not. So then you ask yourself, okay, well, how good is Howl of Winter, this core? And let's read it together. Casting Howl of Terror, an 8th level spell, now grants you the effect of Winter's Hunt for 10 seconds, which grants 10 exceptional bonus to double strike, again, a stat that you don't need, bonus to spell crit, and bonus to spell crit damage. So, this core is not good, and this core is not good, which means that you don't need to have 18 Druid. So it's weird to say, if you're planning on playing as a Wolf Druid, you really only need 17 levels if you want to do the top tier. The pure 20 Druid doesn't really get you anything over 17, which is really strange to think about. But that's just kind of the way it is. So if I was planning on redoing this, and I think at some point I'll probably go rewrite my Druid guide a little bit, just to add in a few extra points there, because I went as a pure Druid, and I think pure Druid it's still good. It's not like you can't play as a pure Druid. Obviously, the double strike is powerful. There's nothing bad about this, but you will cap out. This just makes it slightly easier to get to that cap. But at the end of the day, what you're going to be running into here is it's just excess. It's stuff you don't need. So if you're going to play Druid and you really want to go Wolf Druid and you're going all in, you have a couple different good options. One, to make sure you can get some extra mileage out of your Nature's Protector, because you're going to want to pick up the extra Rage of the Beast right here, grab all this stuff, especially if you're playing as a strength-based Druid, to be able to get the effect of Ferocity from here. You could consider taking a level of Barbarian, either to get additional Rages, since this character will have no way to reset it, or to get the extended Rages, again, another good option. You could also consider taking a level of Fighter, which will not only give you proficiency in the weapons you want to use. As a wolf, you're pretty much always using a two-handed weapon because it's just better than sword and shield. But then you could also instead focus on getting some additional feats and things. Or you could even consider going as Favored Soul. One level of Favored Soul gives you access to Divine Might, Divine Will, which if you have a little bit of wisdom, just means you get some extra hit chance and damage on all of your individual attacks, as well as some extra trip chance. Again, it's just a good chance, but you also get access to Night Shield. So a little bit of Barbarian or anything else, you've got a lot of different multi-class options. It's kind of crazy how many cool multi-class options you actually get as Druid, but then that also means you really don't need to spend the 40 points. So instead of spending 40 points in Nature's Warrior, you're actually going up to tier 5 here. You're picking up Swift Hunter, you're picking up Jaws of Ice, and go for the kill. So you're spending at most 31 points, which is a very big difference. 31 points is much less, 35, which is much less than 41, and those 6 points can go to Nature's Protector. You can multi-class. Maybe you can spend some more points in the half-orc tree if you're playing as a half-orc, because you really like all those strength bonuses, the two-handed damage. And let me tell you something very interesting that is kind of weird. If you're playing as a half-orc Druid, and you use the Druid Rage, once you've used Druid Rage, you can then use the action boost, the half-orc Rage, to get even more strength and even more melee power, which is awesome, and it's one of the best action boosts in the game, and it works extremely well with Legendary Dreadnought. However, if you have that action boost active, you can't use the Druid Rage. It won't let you activate it because you're already raging, which is really weird. So, figure that one out. But yeah, it's something to consider. You could probably make a much more optimized build than the one that I had put out. I'll probably do a bit of an adjustment to it, in the future. I don't know when I'm going to do that, but just to say that what the optimal route to do it is, because I think that honestly, going as a pure Druid is cool, it is viable, and it is something you can play in endgame and in Reaper 10s, but you can make it even better, although you do slow down the leveling experience. Now, you might say to yourself, why 17? Because 17 doesn't get you anything. If you play as level 17 Druid, well, you can get all of this stuff at 12. You can get this at 12. So what do you need Howl of Winter for? What's this? Maybe you could pick up Threat Range or something else from something else. What are you doing? The answer is Snowslide. Snowslide is pretty much the best spell in the game. It feels amazing. It's insanely fun. If you've never played around with it, you will become addicted. It's like Go for the Kill, except it also freezes monsters, and it's the greatest. There's only one downside to Snowslide, which is that you can't use it in town, and you used to be able to, so whoever changed that, please change it back. Please watch the live stream here, change it back, but the fact that Snowslide is in the game is amazing. It's one of the most freely good feeling abilities you can even get in any case. It's just so powerful, it's so fun, and it's a 9th level spell. You also get Regenerate Mass, which means you can be an effective party healer. Now you might think to yourself, okay, well if I'm taking Regenerate Mass, then that means I gotta focus on like getting lots of mana and doing all sorts of other stuff. And the answer is no. Essence of the Strike means basically all of your attack spells cost nothing, so you never need to worry about your mana, and the Regenerate Mass has a fast cast time, and you just cast it around yourself. I believe Natural Fighting also qualifies for Epic Defensive Fighting, so you're already in the clear there, so this is already going to give you the extra health. So even though you can't cast at range because you don't have the Epic Defensive Fighting, you just Snowslide up to somebody and then cast your Regenerate and heal them anyway. So it's reasonably good. You don't have to take 17 Druid, but I really think that if you want to try Wolf Druid and get the full experience, a 17 Druid 3 whatever is a good experience. Now, definitely for leveling, if you decide to multi-class before 17, it means that you're going to be missing out on things like, you know, Snowslide early or Snowslide in Heroics. You only get to experience it for Epics. But I do think overall that's pretty much worth it, especially considering taking 1 level of Fighter or 1 level of Barbarian is going to instantly give you access to the coveted two-handed weapons. And instead of having to just use either Great Axe or Great Sword or Falchion or whatever, you can actually use whatever weapon you pick it up, and then at some point, let's just say the meta shifts, and hey, a new raid's come out, everybody, and this new raid gives this awesome, cool new weapon, and it's now a Warhammer. Well, guess what? You change over 1 feat, your weapon improved critical, and all of a sudden you're a Warhammer build. You want to use Tremor? You're a Warhammer build now. Versus before, you'd actually have to take the feat with a pure Druid. You have to take 1 proficiency and kind of go from there. Or you could play as a half-elf, get the Dilettante, get all the feats, and then be garbage. So those are your kind of your 2 options. But yeah, for the half-orc, that's definitely the way I would go about it.